Welcome to the Psychology World podcast with me, Connor Whiteley, psychology student and international best-selling psychology author of over 30 psychology books, bringing you the latest psychology news, fascinating psychology topics and more each week. If you want to learn more, then please check out connorwhiteley.net/books. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube video or follow on your favourite podcast app. And here's the show. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 339 of the Psychology World podcast with me, Connor Whiteley. And today's episode is on what is social prescribing. And it's Saturday, the 9th of August 2025 as I recorded. So today's podcast episode is very interesting and very relevant one, because as I approach the end of my clinical psychology masters, I am looking for a job, like a lot of people after their degree, and I've been looking at lots of different mental health related jobs because I want the experience, just so in the future, hopefully I can apply to the clinical psychology doctorate. But for that, you need years of mental health experience. So, I've been looking at a lot of jobs, and one of the jobs that I came across has been a social prescriber link worker. So I applied, and then I got a job interview, and then I was like, right, I need to have a deep understanding, or I need to have a much better understanding of what social prescribing actually is. So by the end of today's podcast episode, we're going to learn what is social prescribing, what are the impacts, how does social prescribing improve the mental health and well-being of our clients, and so many more brilliant facets. And if you enjoy today's episode, then there are plenty of social prescriber jobs available in England and Wales, so just something to think about. So you've got that to look forward to in the content part of today's episode. So moving on to the psychology news section, we're reading from the British Psychological Society Research Digest, and the first one is Body Image, Staying Ahead of the Curve. Some would argue that maintaining an appreciation for our bodies has, at least in some circles, become increasingly difficult in recent years. With the rise in popularity and normalization of casual cosmetic procedures, as well as strengthening emphasis on the role of weight loss medication, can play a role in our healthcare landscape. Many of us will at least have contemplated making use of these options to improve our appearance. Of course, I say improve in air quotes. Unfortunately, research by the Mental Health Foundation recently found that those who appreciate our bodies are in the minority. Just 21% of the UK adults they surveyed felt satisfied with their bodies. Some psychologists are concerned that the current media focus on weight loss drugs could further promote skinny ideas and undermine existing body positivity efforts, which encourage us to feel good about our bodies of different shapes and sizes. Understanding how to develop a better body image and prevent body dissatisfaction in the first place is therefore vital. Therefore, there is a raft of psychological research that has been explored on how to achieve this. These studies reveal which approaches work, which don't, and highlight some major gaps in our knowledge. So personally, I'm not going to dive any more into the article and the research, but as someone who has had anorexia, which is driven by a really clinically significant level of distress about your body shape, you don't want to gain weight, you're scared to eat, you're terrified of gaining any weight, and you will lose a lot of weight. For example, during the worst of my anorexia, I was losing a kilogram a week, and I thought that was perfectly fine. It was healthy. I was skipping meals. The longest I went without eating was 25 hours. And to me, that was fine, even though it made me seriously ill and it impacted my mental health for days afterwards. To be honest, a full week at times. So the very idea that casual cosmetic procedures are just being rolled out and being encouraged, that is not good at all. Therefore, we do need to keep thinking, we do need to keep researching on right. So the medical industry and the cosmetic industry are going to keep pushing these narratives, because the more people that have casual cosmetic procedures and the more casual it is and the more normal it is in our society, the more money they make. The cosmetic industry has no intention, to be honest, at least in my experience, of like decreasing this or stopping this. And the same for weight loss medication, because the more medication they can sell and the more they can promote people to actually use their medication, the more money they're going to make. Even though in reality, if you have anorexia, if you're dissatisfied with your body, then you're much more likely to develop an eating disorder in the future. And these are some of the deadliest mental health conditions. And then I know eating disorders can be quite a extreme example, but even if you're just satisfied with your body, if you're dissatisfied, then that will lead to negative mental health outcomes, which again, these companies just don't care about. So this is why it's really important that we research how do we improve, how do we approach this, and how do we help people just develop a better body image. Just some food for thought. So the next one is, playing with robots makes them seem more human. As robots become increasingly common, from care work and companionship to customer service, questions arise not just about what they can do, but how we relate to them. One important factor is whether people attribute agency to robots, a sense that their actions are purposeful, goal-orientated, and meaningful. Understanding when and why we do this isn't just academic. It could guide how robots are integrated into homes, workplaces, and care settings in ways that are ethical, effective, and psychologically sustainable. Writing in the Journal of Experimental Psychology, Nadia A. Weir and colleagues from the University of East Anglia ask what happens when we begin to see robots not simply as machines, but as intentional actors. They find that the more we interact with robots, especially in social contexts, the more human they seem to become. Oh, now this is interesting for a whole range of different reasons. Not only because of some of the clinical psychology research happening at my university, which I took part in as a participant, for example, was a chatbot or a artificial intelligence avatar more realistic in terms of clinical psychology training and practicing those important therapeutic skills. But this is also interesting because this is just going to happen, unfortunately. Like, AI is already very common in our lives, and there are good things and there are bad things about that. For example, when I need quick definitions or when I have a quick question, I do just use Bing a Copilot, but then I check it. And to be honest, I do just tend to use Google search most of the time anyway. And that I very much know that is not an intentional actor at all. And yes, like the actions, for example, the search and the text compilation might be goal-directed and purposeful because I do the prompt, it is not meaningful. So that's something to think about. But then when we spend time with a robot, and I think the scary thing about this is that this is what happens with people. Because the more time you spend with someone, the more time you spend doing a pleasurable activity. And this is the whole thing though about the social contact hypothesis, which is where if you have positive experiences and you spend time and get to know a stigmatized group of people, then this can decrease stigmatization and other negative social outcomes. So I think it's very scary and very eye-opening to realise that if we just spend time with robots, if we talk to them, if we play games with them, we can have the exact same impact, which I think is very surprising. And just, yeah, this is definitely something we need to explore more, because at the rate of technological change, I know research cannot keep up with it, especially publication. But it's something that we've got to research, we've got to understand. So the final one is, bosses also yell for control, rather than to relieve work stress. It's well established that being on the receiving end of workplace abuse can have serious negative consequences for an employee's mental health, but new research suggests that abusive behaviour might not always stem from stress or later lead to guilt. Instead, some managers may feel better after being abusive, depending on what motivated their actions in the first place. According to a new study published in the Journal of Management, motives play a huge role in how supervisors feel after abusing their staff, and those motivated by control rather than stress are not only less likely to feel remorse, but sometimes feel better after dealing with abuse. These new findings raise important questions and provide new avenues for mitigating workplace abuse before it begins. So there are a few things I like about this article. Firstly, I really like that now that we know this, because now that we know that it's not just stress, because before, I suppose, we would only target workplace stress, and by decreasing workplace stress, we could hopefully decrease the abusive behaviour from employers on their employees. Now we understand that it's a lot more complex than that. Sometimes there are other motives at play rather than stress. But sometimes they actually just want to feel in control, which I think is just scary, to be honest. Because I would also be quite concerned whether they're narcissistic, whether they've got other personality traits that are not pro-social. So I think that that's interesting. And now that we know that, we can hopefully look at ways to mitigate workplace abuse before it even begins. Because now that we've got this knowledge so the psychological theory is we need to do something about these motives that are outside of stress and workplace control. So now that we've got this, we now need to apply into the findings and create some sort of intervention to decrease workplace abuse before it even begins. So I quite like that. Plus, I also quite like that we're just stepping away from stress and the idea that later leads to guilt. Because I think that sometimes, especially in pop psychology, or at least the stuff that the public remember, we always tend to think that human behaviour is a one-size-fits-all. And yes, I mean, for the most part, workplace abuse might come from stress. For example, if an employee makes a mistake, a boss gets stressed about the implications of that mistake, so they shout and yell at that employee. That is wrong, it's not good behaviour, but it's understandable. But not everyone is like that. So some people just want control. Now we're starting to realise that all behaviours, especially abuse, happens for multiple different reasons. So now that we know that, we've just got to apply the findings and hopefully decrease abuse. So I hope you enjoy the psychology news section. So let's move on to the personal update. So we're moving on to the personal update. This week has been absolutely lovely, and I've loved it. I've been really happy. I've got so much done, and I'm honestly feeling great at the moment, because this week has been absolutely chaos with outreach, because I simply said to a boss of mine, oh yeah, like you're really busy for that one day next week, which is where you're managing two massive events on your own. I said, yeah, if you want help, contact me and I'll help you for that one day. Next moment, I know I'm working 5 days, but I love it. I'm really happy. Like, it's been so much fun because it's been bio work experience. So I've been in at the labs. I've been watching students synthesize proteins, doing lots of other weird stuff that I cannot explain, but my granddad would flat out love it. And then there's also space school going on at the moment, which is a lot of fun too. So I've been leading sessions. I've been doing lots of manual labour. I've just been having a great time though, like on a Thursday. Thursday was a really big day for me because I did lots of sessions. Like I led a space school panel. I absolutely smashed all the STEM students and all the physics students. So what we had to do was we needed to have a project pitch, and we needed to basically pitch our space ideas to these different funding bodies that the students were pretending. So the students were pretending to be the European Space Agency, Innovate UK, which is a business space focused funding body, and a whole bunch of other research councils that the UK has. So that was really fun. And I got $71,000, which is just under half of the money, and the STEM students didn't get anywhere near that. So that was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it. Oh, STEM students say psychology isn't a science. Well, I can present better than any of you. But it was a lot of fun there. So I did that, and then I led some Mythbusters sessions, supported a neurodivergent session. Then I did some student media workshops. And the lovely thing about this week was I have never felt so loved, but equally so sad at times. Because, like, this is the last week, I am seeing so many of these amazing ambassadors who I've worked with for years. Now, I've been working with some of these for 2 years. I've become friends. Whenever I see them on events, we just pick up on our conversations from last time. We catch up. We just do that because, like, we're friends. We're ambassadors. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. But after working with these amazing people for 6 years, I'm so sad that I'm leaving them. And also the outreach members of like staff though, because I did them all personalized cards. They were all telling me how lovely I am, how amazing I am, and how it's been an absolute pleasure working with me for 6 years. And they've been crying because I can write amazing cards. I can make cards that can make people cry, which is an unusual skill, but I love it. But it was just so nice to get those emails, like those thank you emails, those Teams messages, and just, I don't know how to describe how lucky I am the past 6 years. And my time at university is really over, to be honest, because tomorrow, so tonight, I'm doing a stargazing session or an astronomy session. 5 p.m. until midnight, because our university has a observatory, so I'm helping out at an event there. And then 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, which I'm going to be dead for, probably I'll be so tired, until 5 p.m. tomorrow night or later. That's probably because we're doing massive tidy up. I'm working, and then I'm never going to university again. I've submitted my dissertation. I did that yesterday. And then I'm done with outreach. So that's a massive change for me. And I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm looking forward to getting on to the next chapter of my life. But after 6 years, my time at university is finally over. And that's shocking. Yeah, so the reason why I'm telling you this is that if you're feeling quite both excited, nervous, anxious, loved, and because so many people are going to miss you. And that's normal. Like, allow yourself to process these emotions, because that's healthy. Like, when I got home on Thursday, I just sat outside on my on the back step of my house for a few minutes. No, to be honest, probably like 15, 20 minutes, just to allow myself to process these emotions. Because I feel so lucky, so privileged, and so lucky that I've had the experiences that I have been. And it's been really nice hearing literally everyone say how amazing I am, how lovely I am, how much of a privilege it is, and how they just want the best for me in the future. And I want the exact same like for them. So it's just something to think about. And that's been my week, and I loved it. And I always love to see your thoughts and feelings on today's episode. So you can always email me, connorwhiteley@connorwhiteley.net. You can always leave a comment at the show notes at connorwhiteley.net/podcast. And you can always tweet me on Twitter at sci-fi Whiteley. I always love to hear from all of you because it really helps make the podcast feel more like a conversation. And always feel free to send pictures of where you're listening in from. I always love to see where all of you are all over the world. And today's podcast episode has been sponsored by Working with Children and Young People. So this is a brilliant sponsor for today's episode because social prescribing isn't limited to one age, a population, or even one clinical population in relation, because anyone can be socially prescribed. The reason why I wanted to focus on children and young people is because as mental health professionals and aspiring or qualified psychologists, these are a very particular age group which have their own unique mental health concerns, their own mental health needs, and this great, really easy to understand book helps you to understand how the children mental health services work, at least in the UK. Also, what is a pediatric psychology? How do clinical psychologists work with other professions to improve the lives and the mental health of children and young people? And I flat out love this book because we also talk about child development centres. So there's a lot of great information. This is a really popular book and I flat out love it. So if you want to learn more, then please check out Working with Children and Young People, a guide to clinical psychology, mental health and psychotherapy, available from all major ebook retailers, and you can order the paperback and the hardback version from Amazon, local bookstore, or local library if you requested. And if you want the audiobook narrated by artificial intelligence, then now you can, at selected audiobook retailers. So whilst buying books helps to support the creation and the editing of the podcast, my time is sponsored by my wonderful patrons. And as always, a massive thank you to my patrons, because your support shows that you like the show and you want it to continue. And if you want to become a patron of the show and get access to tons of great rewards, including over 70 exclusive blog posts which I've been adding to this week that won't be made into podcast episodes for weeks, months, or even years, then please head over to patreon.com/The Psychology War podcast. Or if you want to support the podcast on a one-off basis, then now you can at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. So that's enough of the personal update. Let's move on to the content part of today's episode. So we're moving on to the content part of today's episode. So we're going to be talking about what is social prescribing. This is going to be a great, really informative podcast episode. So let's dive into it. What is social prescribing? So social prescribing, according to the NHS, is a major part of the universal personalised care. And this is an approach to mental health that seeks to connect people to services, groups and activities in their community. These activities seek to meet the social, emotional, as well as practical needs of people to improve their health and well-being. In addition, social prescribing isn't limited to only one clinical population or one age group. Instead, social prescribing is an all-age, whole-population approach to healthcare that can work even better for people who are lonely or isolated. They have complex social needs that might impact their mental health. They need support with low-level mental health difficulties, and they have one or more long-term health conditions. The person who does the social prescribing is called a social prescribing link worker, and these link workers work for local agencies like social care, local charities, and health services. Also, these link workers give people time to focus on what matters to them. So together, the client and the link worker can co-produce a simple personalized care plan and support plan, as well as the link worker helps the people to take control of their own mental health and well-being. Personally, I flat out love this approach to mental health so far because it's built on the same reason why I love formulation. We are the expert in psychological theory and research, but the client is always the expert in themselves, their life, and their lived experience. This is why we need to work with the client to co-produce a care plan so they feel empowered and they can take back control in their life. Especially because in my experience, depression, anxiety, and other mental health conditions steal that power from a person. Yet co-producing care plans can help their client to get that sense of power back. In addition, I really like how line workers mean we can reduce waiting lists because instead of clients with low-level mental health difficulties being abandoned until the difficulties become severe enough, they need to be added to a wait list for a longer-term, more expensive psychological therapy. We can put them in touch with local services that might help improve their mental health and well-being. This is essentially another less official version of behavioral activation. By helping someone with a mental health condition to take part in and do what they love, then this can lead to positive mental health outcomes to grossly oversimplify. Line workers are a part of primary care networks, and the idea behind this is that it allows every person in England to access a social prescribing service through their general practice. Furthermore, social prescribing line workers support existing community groups to be sustainable as well as accessible for all. Equally, they help people to start new groups, and link workers work with all local partners so no one is left out. Essentially, I understand this mentality as sort of a rising tide lifts all boats mentality. In other words, if all social groups are thriving, then everyone benefits in society. What difference does social prescribing make? According to the NHS, there is a growing body of evidence showing the stark positive impact that social prescribing can have on individuals, like the report by Davison and Batty 2020. Research shows that social prescribing gives people more control over their lives, so this improves their mental health, as well as service evaluations show that social prescribing reduces pressure on NHS services, such as a reduction in A&E attendance, GP consultations, and bed stays for people. As well as in 2017, the University of Westminster found that social prescribing leads to 28% fewer GP consultations and 24% fewer A&E visits. So it's clear that social prescribing does have a starkly positive impact on people and their mental health, and it has wider benefits for the National Health Service too. What makes a good social prescribing scheme? Finally, a good social prescribing scheme is made up of support for community groups, a common outcomes framework, workforce development, easy referral from all local agencies, a co-produced personalised plan that is based on what matters to the client you're supporting, as well as collaborative commissioning and partner working. Also, social prescribing link workers are employed to give time to people to focus on what matters to them. These are key factors that help to make a good social prescribing scheme. Conclusion. While social prescribing is a relatively new form of mental health support, I strongly believe that it's important for aspiring and qualified psychologists to be aware of. In case you're like me and you're close to finishing your time at university, you'll be looking for mental health related jobs so that we can get the practical work experience that we need to be able to apply for the Doctorate of Clinical Psychology in a few years. Getting involved in social prescribing work might be a useful first step as we continue our psychology journey. Just a thought. What do you think? So, I really hope that you enjoyed today's episode and you got something out of it. I know that I did, because when this internet to do and when this job came up, I was like, oh, this will give me useful experience, and then in the future, I might be able to get the elusive assistant psychologist job. But this is really helpful. So this just helped me to understand what is social prescribing and how can it improve the mental health of the people that I work with. And if you know anyone who would enjoy today's episode, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the podcast. And if you want to learn more, then please check out Working with Children and Younger People, available in all of the usual places. And if you want to become a patron of the show and get access to tons of great and exclusive blog posts, then please check out patreon.com/The Psychology World Podcast. And if you want to support the podcast on a one-off basis, then now you can at buymeacoffee.com/Conor Whiteley. So, have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Found it helpful. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow the podcast on your favourite podcast app. And if you wanted to learn more, then please check out the backlist of the podcast episodes or my books at conwhiteley.net. So have a great day and I'll see you next time.